It's a very different thinking than I have. Something happened to her over the last period of
Y'all voted for this fool. Y'all really did. And now look what we got. We got an idiot for president.
The president's negative comments about Greene come as she continues to push for the Justice Department to release all files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
These women have been waiting, some of them for decades. I talked to several victims that were raped by Jeffrey Epstein back in the 90s. And so this is information that has needed to come out for a very long time, and the American people have demanded it.
House Speaker Mike Johnson said Wednesday that a bill that calls for the release of all the Justice Department's Jeffrey Epstein case files will be put to a vote next week. Meanwhile, a number of restrictions that were imposed because of the record-breaking government shutdown are being lifted this weekend. The FAA began rolling back mandated cuts to flights throughout the country. Museums in the nation's capital and the National Zoo also began reopening this weekend. And SNAP food assistance that had been put on hold for the month of November because of the shutdown are expected to be released in the next week. Willie James Inman, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
U.S. military drills near Venezuela. The USS Gerald R. Ford arriving in the Caribbean Sea, marking a major buildup of American firepower in the region to combat alleged drug smuggling. Let's get right to ABC's Alex Brochet. And Alex, these military drills are happening just miles off the Venezuelan coast.
That's right, Wed. U.S. Marines are set to begin joint training exercises in Trinidad and Tobago, just 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela. And this represents a major escalation and show of force in the Caribbean as the Trump administration continues targeting Latin American drug cartels. Just hours ago, the administration launched its 21st airstrike, bringing the total number of alleged drug cartel members to increase. Its operations began in September. Today, the USS Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group also entered Caribbean waters, now part of the 15,000 U.S. troops operating in the region, the largest presence there in decades. Colombia President Gustavo Petro has ordered his country to stop sharing intelligence with the U.S. until Trump stops what critics have called illegal executions. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro is calling the Marine trainings in Trinidad and Tobago irresponsible. But wait, the table is now set for more possible U.S. action. President Trump telling reporters this week that he has sort of made up his mind about next steps in Venezuela. Wait.
All right, Alex Brochet, thank you.
This out. This morning, science fiction is getting closer to reality. You're looking at an electric flying car during a demonstration in North Carolina. It's a single-seater, all-electric aircraft from California-based company Pivotal. Now, you don't need a pilot license to drive them, but federal regulations do restrict flight to daylight hours in non-congested areas. I feel like you should have a pilot's license for this.
You would think, right?
That's what I would think. And it means that, well, this means it could be a while before everyday Americans take to the skies in one of these aircrafts. But right now, the woman who has the first one in the country is confident about their future.
The vision of the flying car is everybody's going to have one. You're going to have one. I'm going to have one.
Speak for yourself. I want my tires on the ground.
Oh, preach, right?
Yeah. She says the regulations on features like GPS autofly still have to mature, just like auto drive features on cars.
Man, here it is. The flying car comes with a price tag of $190,000, so I don't stand a chance.
I do not stand a chance. Speak for yourself when everybody's going to have one.
Yeah, I already have a hard time flying on a plane, right?
Just working hard, growing. Pampers is working hard, keeping him dry. Only Pampers Swaddlers has a Keep Dry liner to keep him comfortably dry. Pampers, behind every baby.
There's just something special about Texas weekends. With Jexa Energy, every weekend is a
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, free. Call 855-GOT-JEXA or visit JEXAenergy.com to switch to the free 3-day weekends plan.
News Nation's Mills Hayes is joining us tonight with the latest. And Mills, what are you tracking in North Carolina tonight?
Natasha, Operation Charlotte's Web is in full force now after Border Patrol surged agents there over the weekend, targeting places like Home Depot and grocery store parking lots. More than 80 people have been arrested so far as protests have erupted in the Queen City in response.
Clear it out! You better start clearing it out! You better start clearing it out! Let's start throwing gas in here!
Border Patrol agents seen Sunday in a wooded area met by protesters as they search for a man. protesters using whistles and following agents as they drive away. And on Saturday, Border Patrol agents making a record number of
you gotta
arrests in just
realize
5
that,
hours.
you know,
81 people apprehended.
see how this world is
in
coming. This
total,
world's
many
coming
with
to because
criminal
of Donald
histories,
Trump.
including people
What
who
this
have
boy done
already been
did, what
deported
Donald Trump did,
multiple times.
it's not
But
good.
some U.S. citizens have been caught up in the chaos. Willie Acetuno said agents broke a window on his truck, threw him to the ground, and asked if he was in the country illegally before letting him go once he proved his citizenship.
They threw me to the ground, and while they were struggling with me, I said, "Hey, I gave you my papers 5 minutes ago. I'm an American citizen." He asked me where I was born, and I say, "It doesn't matter where I was born.
You see what this
American
boy, you see what this crazy
Border
man, this
Patrol
crazy
agents
president is doing
received
to
questioning
us,
gardeners outside of a home in a Charlotte
to these,
neighborhood
to
Saturday.
our
One Mexican
Mexican
bakery already
friends.
closing to protect
They're the
customers
ones that
after
helped
agents
this United
swarmed its
States
business
keep
Saturday
moving.
morning, taking 2 immigrants away. A teenage employee reportedly arrested from the parking lot of a grocery store selling international foods. More than half of Super G Mart employees called out after the incident. And protests have already erupted across the Queen City. Immigrant rights group Zambra, North Carolina, has created a map of all confirmed ICE and Border Patrol sightings and say more than 400 people have signed up to patrol.
These are members of the community who understand how disruptive having mass federal agents patrolling your community streets is to people that are trying to take their kids to school and trying to get themselves to work.
And News Nation can confirm through sources that Border Patrol agents will likely be in New Orleans for what they're calling Operation Catahoula Crunch as early as next week. Natasha.
With a thick plume of smoke filling the area over Texas City for hours today as firefighters work to put out a major fire at a former power plant. That fire burned at the PHR Peakers plant on the 5500 block of Highway 146. That's according to Kemah Police. And it's where we find ABC 13's Sarah Al-Sheikh tonight. Sarah, what is the latest update?
Yeah, officials tell me the fire is 100% contained, but they expect it to continue to smolder for quite some time just because of how big that fire was. They say people in this area should expect to see smoke for about the next 12 hours or so. Still a lot better situation than it was this morning.
You can hear big popping sounds, crashing sounds, what I imagine stuff's hitting the ground. And it's just been nonstop as each building keeps going down.
On the ground, tall flames burning up a former power plant on State Highway 146. And in the sky, a black plume of smoke rising more than 200 feet in the air. To officials.
Just a tremendous amount. It was probably spectacular view from the air.
After nearly 15 hours and with more than a dozen different fire departments, officials say a massive fire at a vacant power plant in Texas City is 100% contained Sunday night.
There's no water supply out there, so that was our major hurdle. We got a pony pump into the ditch, and that allowed us to get enough water to have 2 master streams.
This at a power plant officials say was decommissioned in the 1990s, sitting here vacant. The plant demolished in 2013, according to officials, but the nearly 75-year-old cooling towers still stood on the property until Sunday.
It made electricity here, and when they closed it, 3 or 4 companies have bought it since then as kind of an investment. And so I imagine one day there'll be something out here again, but currently it's just vacant.
Officials say this fast-spreading fire destroyed all 5 towers.
Once they started, it was just like lighting a box of matches, and the heat from that one just went down the line.
The current property owners say the water cooling towers sat on a small island surrounded by a canal. Crews were initially concerned about residual substances in the towers, but they say air quality monitors showed safe readings and that no known hazardous materials burned. Still, people in the area concerned with what they saw up above.
Big gray smoke that usually means
You
something
see what
bad's
happens
coming
when you
here.
don't learn, when you don't look at
and
something.
so we came just to make sure, one, that we were okay, we weren't in any harm or anything like that from toxic stuff.
These mainly wooden structures ultimately turning to ash after this fire, but thankfully, officials say no one was hurt.
We couldn't have done it without the mutual aid. Without the surrounding departments coming to help us out, it would have been impossible.
Officials say there's no indication anyone was on site when this fire started, but they say they'll continue to investigate the cause of this fire. Reporting live in Bay Clip, Sarah Al-Sheikh, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
There are so many electricity plans. How do I find the best price? Easy. Check with me. Lowest price.
I can always get you a great low price with Frontier Utilities. Frontier is your Texas low price electricity leader. Shop frontierutilities.com, where I'm confident you'll find some of the best prices available, and much more. You're right about that. When you're looking for low price electricity, check with me, lowest price and Frontier Utilities.
Bible says, beloved, iPop wants you to receive.
I opened a vault and $56,000 was in the mail.
Call now. The number's on your screen. These two items are absolutely free.
Peter Popoff wants you to receive the miracle spring water to release prosperity in your life.
You'd never guess it, but the tennis icon Billie Jean King is now 81, and she's not slowing down just yet.
I feel fantastic. The reason I feel great is because I hit tennis balls all the time, and that really makes a big difference. Because at my age, you have to do something to keep moving.
King has seen and done it all, and yet she says there is still some unfinished business. After a hiatus of 6 decades, she's back at Cal State University, hoping to graduate in May.
Lately, in the last few years, I've been going, you know what? I should finish. And I was a history major. Of course, in those days, women didn't have very many opportunities on what to major in, but I do love history. I think that's how you help shape the future.
How do you think it feels for your professors to be teaching someone who has contributed so much towards the history that I guess they're now teaching?
I don't know what they think, to be honest. They're being very strict. They're not giving me any breaks, I can tell you that, which is good.
39 Grand Slam titles across singles, doubles and mixed doubles ranks Billie Jean King as one of the best ever tennis players, but it was her creation of the Women's Tennis Association and her fight for equality that saw her transcend the game. However, King says her academic resume isn't the only work in progress.
We've come a long way, but we have a long way to go.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
So far to go. I mean, we haven't even had a woman president in the United States yet. I mean, that's pathetic.
Now in her ninth decade, the fire inside
We need a
her
woman as a president. We need a woman
I
as a
don't think you can
president.
understand inclusion, really, until you've been excluded.
Her partnership with the e.l.f. beauty cosmetics brand is focusing on opportunity and equality, just as many women's sports are now exploding in popularity.
I give a about the women on the field and in the boardroom.
In addition to her investment in the back-to-back World Series champions, the LA Dodgers, Billie Jean King Enterprises owns stakes in Angel City FC and the LA Sparks. And last year, she was instrumental in launching the Professional Women's Hockey League. When people talk about you, it's about your legacy, and you are so revered. How does it feel to kind of walk in your shoes, knowing that that is how people have regarded you for such a long time?
I feel gratitude and I feel responsibility. I care about grassroots with the Women's Sports Foundation, which I started in 1974. We have done so much. We've given over $100 million to help girls get started. And it's really about every girl. It's not just about the top athletes, but the top athletes are very involved and really wonderful to us. So I just am very thankful every single day and very grateful I've had this life. I know I'm one of the luckiest ones in the world.
You're surveying all those fans over in Investopedia. How would you broadly characterize investor sentiment right now based on your survey work? I mean, is it optimistic, Caleb, cautious, downbeat? What do you see?
Yeah, cautiously optimistic is how I would describe it, and why not? We are seeing many all-time highs already so far this year. We do have the wind at our backs in terms of corporate profits, and we've been seeing that play out in the earnings numbers. But they're also concerned about the underlying economy. At what point does a potential weakness in the economy translate into weakness in the stock market? So far, they're still dancing in opposite directions, and that's kind of, they usually move in different directions or usually not down the same path. But right now they're wondering, is this going to last? And they're worried, just like some of the people you talk to, about their own personal finances or about their neighbors' personal finances. In the stock market, their assets have done very well. We got more millionaires than ever. We got more 401k millionaires than ever. We have more retail investors invested in the stock market than ever. That's good. That's a way to generate wealth. But maybe at some point, this diversion between the two, the economy and the stock market, to the stock market, and affects overall mood.
It's been slowly kind of simmering for weeks now, ever since, of course, she made those comments, the Prime Minister in Japan. So certainly now it seems to be coming to a bit more of intensity here. And we're hearing from Japanese public broadcaster NHK is now saying a senior diplomat is visiting China this week in a bid to soothe tensions over the Prime Minister's comments on Taiwan. Let's bring in our China correspondent Min Lo to talk us through what's the latest.
Yeah, certainly it seems like it's serious enough that Japan is now sending officials to China, and China suddenly is seeing this as quite a material shift in Japan's stance, right? Because this is the clearest articulation yet under Sanae Takaichi that Japan would see any military attack on Taiwan as an existential crisis, which gives them the legal justification to intervene militarily. And this is something that Chinese state media has been, really up in arms over, saying that this is the first overt threat of force that Japan has shown to China in 80 years since World War II. And China is saying that this is essentially the same as military adventurism. And they're repeating their mistakes of Japanese aggression in the 1940s.
Don't forget to hit the like button.
So it's something that is trending heavily on Chinese social media. Chinese people are talking a lot about this. And of course, the Chinese government has taken measures asking its citizens not to travel to Japan over these security concerns.
One part of the argument is this was a comment, a strong comment, maybe taken out of context. It's obviously a few days since then, a few weeks, and then this escalation we're in right now. Is what we've seen in the last, let's call it 48 hours since Friday, a signal of more countermeasures to come? Is this about to kick off, or is this almost as bad as it could get?
It could be. I think we have to see what happens when the Japanese officials meet with the Chinese officials, because I think what China wants to see is to have Japan really commit to the One China policy and maybe to retract those statements. Of course, I think what they would really want is an apology from Japan, which they're not likely to get. But right now we are seeing military threats, right? You have China sending these armed coast guards to the disputed waters near the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands over the weekend, saying that they are making rights enforcement
No,
patrols.
that's not technically true.
So
but
it is a sign, and this was explicitly mentioned in a Weibo account linked to the Chinese state media CCTV, Yu Yuan Tantian, saying that these are signals that China is prepared to take strong countermeasures if things don't settle down.
And this kind of back and forth, it comes at the worst time, right? This is coming at a time when we are seeing plenty of Chinese tourists heading to Japan. I mean, you can include Hong Kong as well.
In a weak currency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at traveler numbers close to pre-pandemic levels now. 7.5 million travelers in the first 9 months of this year. And bear in mind, Chinese travelers are the biggest spenders, and they make up now nearly a quarter of Japan's total foreign travelers. So you think about all these Japanese brands that rely heavily on Chinese revenue, brands like Shiseido, more than 30% coming from the Chinese market. So that's why we are seeing the stock down about close to 10% today. And some analysts, Bloomberg intelligence analyst Catherine Lim is saying that some of these Japanese companies' ambition to expand further in China could be hampered by this as well, especially if the Chinese government put out a stronger statement calling on its citizens to boycott some of these brands.
Yeah, we've seen this before in previous episodes where the tensions between the two have flared up. It's really played out on the business, on the
and
ground.
that has specifically happened, I think, when Japan nationalized the Senkaku Island or privatized it.
More than a few years ago.
Yeah, and the Chinese government explicitly told to boycott some of these Japanese brands.
I remember I was still a student in China. I remember mid-2000s where there were flare-ups, there were riots.
And there were all these flags that people would hang
Yes.
on their cars or outside their windows.
Yes, so I mean, there's something in there that if you like the proper fight, that could get out of hand. But yes, that's where we are.
All right, Mina, thank you. Across these markets and the reaction that we're seeing in Japan in particular. Let's bring in our Japan stocks reporter in Tokyo. And Alice, I mean, so take your pick, whether it's tourism or travel related. We're seeing some outsized moves here to the downside. What are you tracking so far in your team?
Absolutely.
All right,
Good morning.
thank you all for
so
watching.
Department stocks are being